the frogs and the ox. An ox came down to a reedy pool to drink. As he splashed heavily into the water, he crushed a young frog into the mud. The old frog soon missed the little one and asked his brothers and sisters what had become of him.
"A great big monster,"
said one of them.
"Stepped on little brother with one of his huge feet."
"Big was he?"
said the old frog, puffing herself up.
"Was he as big as this?"
"Oh, much bigger,"
they cried. The frog puffed up still more.
"He could not have been bigger than this,"
she said. But the little frogs all declared that the monster was much, much bigger, and the old frog kept puffing herself out more and more until, all at once, she burst. Do not attempt the impossible. Belling the cat. The mice once called a meeting to decide on a plan to free themselves of their enemy, the cat. At least they wished to find some way of knowing when she was coming, so they might have time to run away. Indeed, something had to be done, for they lived in such constant fear of her claws that they hardly dared stir from their dens by night or day. Many plans were discussed, but none of them was thought good enough. At last a very young mouse got up and said,
"I have a plan that seems very simple, but I know it will be successful. All we have to do is to hang a bell about the cat's neck. When we hear the bell ringing, we will know immediately that our enemy is coming."
All the mice were much surprised that they had not thought of such a plan before. But in the midst of the rejoicing over their good fortune, an old mouse arose and said,
"I will say that the plan of the young mouse is very good. But let me ask one question. Who will bell the cat?"
It is one thing to say that something should be done, but quite a different matter to do it.
The Town Mouse and the Country Mouse. A town mouse once visited a relative who lived in the country. For lunch, the country mouse served wheat stalks, roots, and corns, with a dash of cold water for drink. The town mouse, trying to be polite, nibbled a little of this and a little of that, though her manner clearly indicated her preference for more sophisticated fare.
"Oh, these wheat stalks are quite rustic, aren't they?"
They may not be as fancy as what you're used to, but they're wholesome and nourishing.
After the meal, the friends settled into a cozy nest in the hedgerow for a long talk. The town mouse enthusiastically described her life in the city, while the country mouse listened with curiosity.
"You won't believe the hustle and bustle of the city. The towering buildings, the lively markets, and oh, the food. It's a mouse's paradise."
The country mouse, drifting into sleep, dreamt of city luxuries and delights. The next day, when the town mouse invited her to the city, she eagerly agreed. Upon reaching the mansion in which the town mouse lived, the mice found a sumptuous banquet on the dining room table. Sweetmeats, jellies, pastries, and delicious cheeses awaited them. However, as the country mouse was about to nibble on a pastry, a loud mew and scratching at the door revealed the presence of a menacing cat.
Is it always like this in the city?
Well, there are some risks, but the pleasures outweigh them.
The mice scurried to a hiding place, holding their breath until the danger passed. When they returned to the feast, the door suddenly opened, and servants entered to clear the table, followed by the house dog.
This is too much excitement for me. I miss the quiet and safety of the countryside.
In the aftermath of the chaos, the country mouse, realizing the trade-offs, decided to return home.
You may have luxuries and dainties that I have not, but I prefer my plain food and simple life in the country with the peace and security that go with it.
As she hurried away, she left behind the temptations of the city, choosing the familiar comfort of her rural abode. Poverty with security is better than plenty in the midst of fear and uncertainty. The Fox and the Grapes. A fox one day spied a beautiful bunch of ripe grapes hanging from a vine trained along the branches of a tree. The grapes seemed ready to burst with juice, and the fox's mouth watered as he gazed longingly at them.
A bunch of grapes looks so tempting,
The fox said with a smile. The bunch hung from a high branch, and the fox had to jump for it. The first time he jumped, he missed it by a long way.
If I jump a little higher, I might reach it.
The fox said, wiping his mouth with anticipation. So he walked off a short distance and took a running leap at it, only to fall short once more. Again and again he tried, but in vain. Now he sat down and looked at the grapes in disgust.
What a fool I am,
He said.
Here I am wearing myself out to get a bunch of sour grapes that are not worth gaping for.
And off he walked very, very scornfully. There are many who pretend to despise and belittle that which is beyond their reach. The Wolf and the Crane. A wolf had been feasting too greedily, and a bone had stuck crosswise in his throat. He could get it neither up nor down, and of course he could not eat a thing. Naturally, that was an awful state of affairs for a greedy wolf. So away he hurried to the crane. He was sure that she, with her long neck and bill, would easily be able to reach the bone and pull it out.
I will reward you very handsomely,
said the wolf.
if you pull that bone out for me.
The crane, as you can imagine, was very uneasy about putting her head in a wolf's throat. But she was grasping in nature, so she did what the wolf asked her to do. When the wolf felt that the bone was gone, he started to walk away. "But what about my reward?" called the crane anxiously.
What?
Snarled the wolf, whirling around.
Haven't you got it? Isn't it enough that I let you take your head out of my mouth without snapping it off?
Expect no reward for serving the wicked.
The Lion and the Mouse. A lion lay asleep in the forest, his great head resting on his paws. A timid little mouse came upon him unexpectedly, and in her fright and haste to get away, ran across the lion's nose. Roused from his nap, the lion laid his huge paw angrily on the tiny creature to kill her.
"Spare me!
Begged the poor mouse.
Please let me go, and someday I will surely repay you."
The lion was much amused to think that a mouse could ever help him. But he was generous and finally let the mouse go. Some days later, while stalking his prey in the forest, the lion was caught in the toils of a hunter's net. Unable to free himself, he filled the forest with his angry roaring. The mouse knew the voice, and quickly found the lion struggling in the net. Running to one of the great ropes that bound him, she gnawed it until it parted, and soon the lion was free.
You laughed when I said I would repay you,
said the mouse.
Now you see that even a mouse can help a lion.
A kindness is never wasted.